Time for rush hour traffic. Thanks, Claudia.
In Washington, D.C. today, people were flocking to the opening of a museum like no other.
Organizers say the memorial is meant to be disturbing. Eyewitness News Washington correspondent Mary Miller begins our I-Team coverage live via News Star 12 from the Holocaust Memorial. Mary?
Well, Chandra, I am standing here in front of the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum in an area that just several hours ago was jammed with people. A visit here is an emotional experience, as indeed the dedication ceremonies were earlier today. It was perhaps fitting to be a dark and somber day on which to dedicate a museum to such a dark and somber chapter in human history. Thousands huddled under umbrellas on the vast expanse before the looming structure as President Clinton, a dozen other heads of state, Holocaust survivors, rescuers, and liberators crammed the stage, many delivering speeches that barely left a dry eye. Nobel laureate and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel asked the nagging question.
How is it that man's silence was matched by God's? Oh, I don't believe there are answers. There are no answers, and this museum is not an answer. It is a question mark.
A question perhaps, but one designed at least to evoke the determination never again, as only the first American president born after the tragedy can attest to.
To preserve this shared history of anguish, to keep it vivid and real, so that evil can be combated and contained, we are here to consecrate this memorial and contemplate its meaning for us.
And its meaning for us, says Clinton, may be more real today than ever before, with the demise of communism and the birth of a new world.
We learn again and again that the world is yet to run its course of animosity and violence. Ethnic cleansing in the former Yugoslavia is but the most brutal and blatant and ever-present manifestation.
But to a president who struggles with what to do in Bosnia, Wiesel offered an unequivocal answer.
As a Jew, I am saying that we must do something to stop the bloodshed in that country.
Clinton, Wiesel, and the Museum Council chairman then lit an eternal flame as protesters just outside the perimeter gave witness to the fact that bigotry and racism lives on. Now, the museum opens to the public on Monday. It is free, but crowds are expected to be so large that advance tickets are required to get in, and not a single person is expected to leave untouched. Tim, Chandra.
Mary, about 200-300 KKKers and neo-Nazis expected to come to Miami this weekend to demonstrate against the memorial. Were there that many there, or were there just isolated guys?
No, there weren't that many here. I would say maybe there were about 50 or so, about 4 or 5 small groups. Some of them were protesting this museum altogether. Of course, many claiming the Holocaust never existed. Others were simply sort of saying that they didn't like the fact this was getting so much attention when there are so many other evils in the world, and there ought to be other museums to African Americans and Native Americans and all sorts of other oppressed people. So there were varying reasons for their protestations.
Right. Thank you very much.
Well, here in South Florida, high school students are learning about the Holocaust firsthand through the survivors.
We continue now our I-Team coverage with Eyewitness News reporter Dana Pally. He joins us live from our South Bureau with this story. Dana, go ahead.
Well, Tim, this is Holocaust Awareness Week at Olympic Heights High School in Raton. For the first time, some of these kids are hearing about the horror from those who lived it. Pictures of the Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews died at the hands of the Nazis, haunts the survivors more than 45 years later.
Just put us in the crematorium, and if and when you were healthy enough, strong enough, you are just a tool for the war effort. They did not have the decency to tell us, you're going to die.
Some of those in the camps who could work and were young survived, such as 67-year-old Sam Blumenfeld. Today, he and others who lived through the terror of concentration camps told their stories to high school students.
Since my grandparents went through it, and so many people's grandparents, and it really did happen. There are videos. I just saw a video last night, and it was such atrocities. People can't forget this because it can happen again.
We should have to listen to them at least and see their point of view exactly what happened.
The horrible memories of the survivors will never be forgotten. They want to make sure that everybody knows the Holocaust did in fact happen.
And they should try to run away from hatred, from warmongers, or from people who are trying to tell lies and try to deny that the Holocaust never happened. And this is quite important because, you know, where else will they see or hear from people like us in a few years from now?
And I got the feeling, for the most part, the students felt it was very important to learn about the Holocaust In fact, some are thinking of going on a national-sponsored tour to visit some of the concentration camps to see them for themselves. Back to you, Tim and Chandra.
This is the way to learn history from the people who've experienced it.
Definitely, these people lived it, they know it, and they want to keep telling people so that they know in the future, as they say, so it will never happen again.
Thanks, Dana.
The principal of